Today, we're going to deconstruct something that's more than just a scam. It's a sophisticated emotional weapon, a system that's been carefully engineered to bypass your logic, hijack your love, and drain your bank account by creating a crisis that isn't even real. It's a crime that targets your best intentions, turning your compassion into a weapon against you. So let's get into exactly how it works.
Just think about that for a second. What makes this so incredibly powerful? It's because this deception doesn't go after your greed or even your fear for yourself. No, it targets your most profound, your most noble instinct, the drive to protect your family. This system has a name, kinship exploitation, and it's designed to turn your loyalty into a master key for a criminal's heist.
So in this explainer, we're going to move through 5 stages of a forensic analysis. First, the empathy trap, how your best instincts get weaponized. Then we'll dissect the anatomy of the deception, breaking down the scammer's playbook step by step. From there, we'll dive into the hijacked brain to see why our logic just fails under this kind of pressure. Then we'll build the family defense protocol, your action plan for protection. And finally, we'll land on the one unbreakable rule that can make you and your family immune to this threat.
Okay, so let's start at the very foundation of this whole criminal enterprise. It's not really built on clever tech. It's built on the human heart. The strategy is called kinship exploitation, and it's all about systematically manipulating the powerful protective bonds that exist between family members. Scammers know that the second you think a loved one is in trouble, your brain stops being a detective and immediately starts being a rescuer.
And this is why the scam works on even the smartest, most cautious people out there. This is not a failure of intellect, it's a feature of our biology. Emotional contagion is a very real physiological state. When you hear a panicked voice that you believe is your child or your grandchild, it literally flips a biological switch deep inside your brain. Your analytical, rational mind goes completely offline, and the primal protective part takes total control. You are hardwired to react this way, and believe me, scammers are experts at finding that switch and flipping it.
And this is not some small, isolated problem. According to the FBI, these so-called grandparent scams and other family emergency frauds are responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars in reported losses every single year. And that's just what gets reported. This emotional threat has a devastating and very real financial price tag, often draining the life savings from the very people who can least afford to lose it.
All right, let's move on and see how that biological trigger is exploited by what I call an emotional extraction machine. Because this isn't random. It's a predictable 5-step system designed for one thing and one thing only, to get your money before your logical brain has any chance to come back online.
So here it is, the scammer's playbook. It starts with targeting. They scrape public social media for names, family relationships, and even voice samples. Then comes the sudden immersion, that chaotic, panicked phone call that drops you right into the middle of a fake crisis. This is followed by the absolutely critical secrecy mandate, which isolates you from anyone who could help. Then an authority loop, where they bring in a fake cop or lawyer to add legitimacy. And finally, extraction and concealment. They get the money and disappear. Every single step is meticulously planned.
Now, the technology that makes this so terrifyingly effective today is AI voice cloning. Scammers can take a tiny 3-second clip of someone's voice from a social media video, a birthday wish, a vacation clip, and feed it into software that generates a perfect, emotionally convincing impersonation. The voice you hear sounds real because, in a very real way, it is built from their voice. It's your loved one's own voice turned into a vulnerability.
And this right here, this is the crucial moment. The second you hear that cloned voice, maybe sobbing, begging for help, your brain accepts the crisis as 100% real. That biological switch we talked about, it's been flipped. The emotional hijack is now complete, and everything that follows is designed to keep you locked in that state of panic.
Which brings us to a really critical question. If this is a real emergency, with lawyers and police, why on earth would you be told to keep it a secret from the rest of your family? Well, the answer reveals the single most important manipulation tactic in this entire system.
It's what we call the psychological choke point, the secrecy mandate. The scammer, who's often posing as a public defender or a police officer, will tell you that telling anyone else will violate a gag order or jeopardize the case for your loved one. They use shame, they use legal threats, all to isolate you completely. Why? Because they know a single phone call to another family member would instantly expose the entire lie. Isolation is the oxygen this scam needs to breathe.
Now, To keep you in this state of panic and isolation, they use specific linguistic tricks. They'll talk really fast, creating this intense sense of urgency so you don't have a moment to think. They'll use manufactured background noise, like a chaotic jail or a busy ER, and throw around official-sounding but totally fake case numbers and gag orders. The goal of all of this is to create what's called decision fatigue, just overwhelming your brain with so much chaos that sending the money feels like the only way to make it all stop.
So we've seen the scammer's playbook. Now let's go a little deeper and look at what's happening inside the victim's mind. Why does our own brain, our most powerful tool, fail us so completely in these moments? Well, it all comes down to a battle between two parts of the mind.
This is the amygdala hijack in action. Your brain, for all intents and purposes, has two operating systems. You've got the analytical brain, it's slow, it's logical, it's built for verification. Then you've got the emotional brain. It's fast, it's instinctual, and it's built for protection. When that panicked call comes in, the emotional brain hijacks the entire system. Fear, urgency, and the need to protect just completely override logic, reason, and verification. You are, for that moment, physically incapable of thinking clearly.
This hijack leads to a state called attentional narrowing. Your focus becomes so razor sharp on the threat to your loved one that you become completely blind to all the absurd red flags waving around you. I mean, does it really make sense that a court would demand bail and target gift cards? Or that a lawyer needs you to send Bitcoin from the kiosk at a gas station? Of course not. But in that state, the savior role, the idea that you're the only one who can fix this, is so powerful that these absurdities become completely invisible.
Okay, understanding the problem is the first half of the battle. But now, we're going to transition to the solution. We are going to build an active defense. This is your family's forensic verification system, a simple, clear protocol that can short-circuit the scammer's entire machine. The protocol starts with recognizing the red flags. If secrecy is the #1 demand, if payment is urgent and has to be made through untraceable methods, like gift cards, crypto, or a wire transfer, if some official is threatening you with legal trouble for talking to anyone, or if the whole story just feels a little off, these are the tripwires. The moment you spot any one of these, the defense protocol has to be activated immediately. And that protocol is incredibly simple. It comes down to two non-negotiable core steps: the family code word and the callback rule. That's it. These two actions are all it takes to defeat this entire elaborate deception. First up, the family code word. This is your system's primary tool. It's a unique word or phrase, something a scammer could never guess from social media, that you establish with your family ahead of time. It can be anything, Operation Seagull or Purple Giraffe. When you get that panicked call, your first question is, what's the code word? This simple act forces your brain to switch from an emotional reflex to a logical forensic verification step. If they don't know it, it's a scam. End of story. The second unbreakable rule is the callback. You have to hang up. I know it feels like the hardest thing to do in that moment, but you must hang up the phone. This breaks the scammer's control and shatters their carefully crafted immersion. Immediately after hanging up, you call your loved one directly on the phone number you already have for them. In 99.9% of cases, they'll pick up, totally safe, and the scam is over. And to create even more layers of protection, you can add two more safeguards. First, the institutional audit. If someone claims they're from a hospital or a police department, hang up and call that institution's official switchboard number yourself, never a number they give you. And second, the family transparency rule. Make a pact that you will never keep a financial emergency a secret from each other. Remember, secrecy is the criminal's best friend.
And all of this, the psychology, the tactics, the defenses, it all really boils down to one single, powerful, unbreakable rule. It's a core principle that cuts through all the noise, all the fear, and all the manipulation.
Here is the crucial distinction you have to burn into your memory. True emergencies are never, ever resolved through secret payments to unverified callers. Legitimate institutions, hospitals, courts, police departments, they all have formal, verifiable procedures. They do not operate through demands for gift cards, cryptocurrency, or gag orders over the phone. If the solution to a crisis requires you to lie to your family, you aren't saving a relative, you're funding a criminal.
So I want to leave you with this powerful, actionable mantra. Commit it to memory, say it to yourself. Verify the person, then the crisis. I never wire money without a code word. These scams are emotional hijacking systems. They use convincing tech and psychological isolation to turn your love into a weapon against you. But they can only succeed if you stay in the dark. By setting up a code word, always calling back, and remembering that real emergencies have real, verifiable processes. You build a shield that no amount of emotional manipulation can ever penetrate.